Hey guys, it's Stephen here back with another video, and if you're wondering why it looks like I've just got out of bed, it's because I have. It's bank holiday weekend, why not? Monday off, so I'm looking scruffy. But I wanted to make a video this morning because I was thinking about my player reviews and I can't stop making content. And today is the turn of Fabian Delph. Poor Mr. Fabian Delph. It wasn't a good season, was it, for old Delphy? And I do actually feel a bit sorry for him, weirdly, because I thought last season he was very good. He was very likeable. He was an integral part of our squad. Unintentionally, I think there's a fair thing to say as well. He wasn't expecting to become this left-back last year. And he did. He became a left-back in the absence of Benjamin Mendy. And he was genuinely very good. I think a lot of people have forgotten that. And it's definitely worth repeating how good Delph was last season at left-back. He was a rock. He was reliable. He was intelligent with his use of the ball. And he really allowed Pep to do that inside midfielder thing. And he was just very good. He wasn't great a game forward, but it didn't really matter because we were all conquering anyway. And he added the stability and the defensive awareness to his game that was invaluable. He was good. He was genuinely good. There weren't many better left backs in the Premier League last season than Fabian Delph, and he had some excellent performances, particularly at Chelsea, some Champions League big games. He had some. I remember, I think it was Napoli, where he played absolutely fantastic. He was just very, very, very reliable. So there was a lot of basically thoughts that he could hopefully carry on that form this season when it turned out Mendy got injured again and we needed a left back. But it didn't quite happen. He ended up the season with only 13 starts in all competitions. He did have a run of games here and there, though it turned out to be a very unfortunate run of games. He played mostly around December time when he played in the 3-1 victory against Everton. He played Hoffenheim before that. But then there was a run of defeats where he didn't really have particularly great games, unfortunately. He got played in the Crystal Palace game where we lost 3-2. He got sent off in the Leicester game. And it was a sending off that seemed to really frustrate Guardiola. We didn't really see much from him then until mid-January. Played a couple of games, a substitute appearance in the Premier League for 10 minutes, and he played against Burton. And then he played against Schalke in kind of like a dead rubber game where we won 7-0. But even that was only a substitute appearance. And then didn't really do anything. He started weirdly, which surprised people, in the Spurs game, the away one in the Champions League. That was a surprise because no one was expecting him to be involved there. Guardiola said the reason he was involved is because he trained really well, which is a very honest reason, I guess. But at this point, it seemed that the writing was already on the wall for Fabian Delph. I do think what Delph actually needed was probably a run of games to really get his form up, because it is an unfamiliar position and there was no guarantee that that form would have been essentially what it was last year. He probably felt that maybe he'd mastered it, but then he'd forgotten it over the summer, all that kind of stuff, and he needed a little bit of a kind of rejig to get into that again. But as it happened, he made a couple of unfortunate mistakes, and football is decided by these little margins. And when you make a couple of mistakes and it costs you, your head can drop, and he never really recovered from that, unfortunately. Add that to the fact that he had loads of really niggly injuries. He couldn't really get into his stride. He couldn't really find his feet, and he basically wasn't really involved at all towards the end. He also didn't really cover himself in glory in that Spurs game. He was turned inside out far too easily from Son, who's a very good player, so there's no shame in that. But it wasn't really a season to remember for Fabian Delph. I honestly do think his best performances last year were better than Zinchenko's best performances this year. Zinchenko was very good this year at times, but I think Delph generally was a level above when he was at his best. So it is a shame that he couldn't replicate this form that he showed last season this year. And as it is, Delph, how old is he now? He's 29 years old. He's barely played, I think, 8 starts in the Premier League, a couple in the Champions League, a couple in the League Cup, one in the FA Cup. He had a massive drop-off in game time this season, and I honestly don't think he'll be around next year. I can imagine him going to maybe a newly promoted club or something like that. There are rumours too linking him to Leeds in the Championship. I do think he's better than that, though, personally, no disrespect to Leeds. I think he is still a Premier League level footballer. He just needs some games. He obviously doesn't get the midfield games that maybe he'd probably like, but he was very comfortable at left-back last season. So we've got essentially a player that could go as a left-back or a holding midfielder to somewhere else. And I want to see him play football because I like Fabian Delph as a footballer. I think he's a very honest player. I think he gets a little bit of stick. It's probably somewhat warranted. I think we have to be kind to players who are playing out of position, and we can't expect their form to be consistent always. And it was a very weird year for him. Lots of bad luck, some kind of self-inflicted, and some of it the victim of circumstance, maybe a victim of his own high expectations from last season for being brilliant there. He's not a bad player. People seem to think he is a bad player for some reason. He's just a player who's not had a good season, and that can happen, especially when you're expected to do something that maybe you shouldn't have been able to do in the first place. Delph, if he does go, goes with my blessing. I think he's been a pretty loyal and admirable warrior to stay around last season, to hang about when we wanted to sell him, to then become involved in the squad. It's admirable. It's genuinely admirable, and it's not his fault that essentially he's become the whipping boy for being sort of not great enough at left back. Is it? Because he never pretended to be in the first place. So in terms of the score, Delph, though, it was a poor season, unfortunately. I want to be fair. Yeah, it was a poor season. If 5 is average, it was slightly below average. I'm going to give him... what should I give him? I'll probably give him a 4, unfortunately. I think out of everyone in the squad, in terms of who was involved regularly, he'll be the one that feels like he had essentially a poor season because things went wrong. He barely played in the big games. When he did, it didn't go very well for him. I feel sorry for Fabian Delph, but it was very much a 4 out of 10, maybe 4.5. You argue the difference between yourselves, but I'm going to give him a 4, unfortunately. Sorry, Fabian. As ever, thank you to all these people here scrolling down the side. These are my patrons, patreon.com/Esteemed Kompany. Make sure you go and check out the rest of these videos as well. I'll put them in a playlist on the screen right now somewhere so you can go watch all the season play reviews. I'll make an actual playlist for all that as well, so you can go and watch them all separately, one by one, individually. I'm going to do one for Mendy as well next, so hang around. There might be some more later this afternoon, but for now, I'm just going to do these 2 this morning, and we'll see where we go from there. I might do a chairman video reaction as well. The next part is up probably about the time you're watching this video now, so I'll watch that and I'll react to that in a bit.